everyone. I'm Gavin. You've probably conversed with me back and forth over email, the returning officer. So what we'll do is we're going to go through, we're just going to wait a couple of moments for everyone to come onto the session, and then we'll go through the rules as straightforward as they are. If you have any queries about the format at the start, just raise your hand or speak after I throw it open to questions for a moment, but then we'll roll into the speeches themselves now. So we'll just wait a couple of moments to see whether anyone else will jump on. So unlike an actual meeting, don't feel free to talk amongst yourselves. And also we'll be using the chat function for questions. So if you have a question, just because if you raise your hand and say it, it's much easier if you type it into the chat. Now you'll see Jared somewhere, or at least you'll see his name appear on the screen. Jared is my Deputy Returning Officer, and he'll be doing some of the timekeeping duties.
Yes, hello, I'm here now on video, so I just get cleaning the house in the background, classic doing the washing, but yeah, I feel like get out of the way. But yeah, as Gavin said, I'm the Deputy Returning Officer, and I'll be the timekeeping for the speeches.
Yeah. Now we'll give it 2 more minutes, and then we will kick off.
I can see one of the candidates is struggling to join the meeting. I'm just going to see what's happening there.
Yep.
Oh, he's in now. Great.
Beautiful. Now, as we said earlier, there'll be, we'll invite you to go through and give a speech. So we're going to go through the candidates in the order that they were printed on the, firstly in the email as well, but in the order that they were printed on the nominations received notice. But we will call on you to speak. Now, our apologies because there are many different pronunciations. So if we mispronounce your name, my apologies in advance. And the other part being is that there are different time limits just for the executive and director positions. So you'll get 3 minutes to speak as candidates. Now we'll invite you to speak, and then you speak, and then obviously you'll mute yourself after you've finished. About 30 seconds before you're due to finish, Jared, my trusted colleague, will give you a small sound indicator of, I think, very old school. And then we will just give you a wind up when we get to the end of your time. When we get to the end of that position, because there are generally only for the single member positions, there's only 2 or 3 people standing for each one, we will then have a short question and answer session. So you just need to submit your questions over the chat. Now, obviously, as candidates, you can read them, and we're going to go in the same order that we then gave speeches in terms of responding to questions and answers. So obviously the first person who spoke will then get to respond first to questions. There'll be 2 questions, and for those positions, those executive and director positions, and then there's 45 seconds each to give an answer. Now keep obviously answers brief. You guys are very accomplished, it seems, with your public speaking, so keep them brief because there's only 40. We've put a time limit of 45 seconds on those answers. Now, a lot of you have actually submitted your speeches to me already, not that you needed to, but, so that's good. There hasn't been anything out of the ordinary. They've all been good. So it's just a case of, it's only if someone says something incendiary, not that it's ever really happened. I don't think it's happened once in all my time as returning officer. But if that is the case, then you will get in trouble from me and we will cut you off. That said, it's never happened. So that's just to put a warning out there. But in terms of your speeches, they're generally very good and straightforward. So as I said, there's a Q&A at the end of each position, and then we will go through, and obviously there are a number of positions and there are people standing for every position. Now, when it comes to the multi-member positions, we're going to accept more than 2 questions. And obviously it's a bit of a first in best dress with questions. So whoever's the quickest on their questions are the ones that are going to get read out first, because we can only accept a certain number. With those multi-member positions in the offices, it will take up to 5 questions. Not that each candidate has to answer 5 questions, they just get to pick and choose as to which one they answer. So they'll get to answer 1 question each. Now, if that hasn't been clear, let me know. You're welcome to ask a question now before we kick off. So if anyone's got any questions as to the proceedings or how it's going to work, let me know now. Otherwise, we're going to roll straight into it. So if you have any questions, does anyone have any questions about the way it's going to proceed?
I have a question related to officer policy speech. Do we have to?
No, you don't. If you don't want to speak, if you're standing for example, for 2 positions and you only want to speak to one, not the other, just say, I don't want to speak on that one. Just let me know, because it's better than just the awkward silence of me calling your name. And then and the other question I had, someone was saying, I'm standing for 2 positions. So can I combine that into like a super 5-minute speech? Like, 3 minutes and then 5 minutes, 2 minutes, and I can make it 5 minutes? No. You're going to have to give a speech for one position and then a speech for the next position. Otherwise, we're just going to have like a crazy hybrid. So, yeah, so you speak on the positions that you are standing for. You can't combine your speeches. So hopefully that answers all your questions. Does anyone else have any questions before we start? Beautiful. All right. Well, Jared, are you ready to go on your timekeeping?
Yes, really go.
All right. Excellent. Well, that's what I will do. I'm just pulling up the list. And then we will kick off. So firstly, we have Disha. Disha, are you there?
Yes. Am I audible?
Yes, you certainly are. Go for it.
All right, time starts now.
Hi, my name is Disha Zurshi, a first-year Bachelor of Arts student pursuing a double major in psychology and politics. Standing up for the president post was intimidating, but I'm grateful that in this process, I was able to connect with the right people and gain an insight into the position of UMSU International. As a part of the international students community, I do understand the problems we face as of this moment. Keeping those in mind, there are 4 overarching goals that I plan to achieve if I were to win. First, I will continue to advocate for the return of international students and fee reduction while collaborating with UMSU and GSA to help make our voice stronger. Second, emphasis in media outreach. Technology has become an integral part of our lives, and getting students involved on media platforms is necessary for UMSU International. With the media and communication team playing a critical role, we could improve the student experience and involvement through student takeovers, informative and aesthetic fields, and engagement through videos and chats. This will also help improve the engagement in events and spread awareness about agendas that the committee deems necessary. Third, boosting the mental health care system. Though UMSU International provides great professional help and events related to mental health, collaboration with the Melbourne University Psychology Association, that is MUPA, would foster a new mindset in students who fear the idea of professional help. MUPA could help us create discussion groups regarding mental health to break the stereotypes. This will help in a smoother transition for professional health. Fourth, better representation of UMSU International in UMSU. I am aware that UMSU International does not have the best representation in UMSU, and it being a major stakeholder, our representation needs to be improved. Alongside this, I also plan to negotiate with UMSU for a higher budget. For this all to be executed, I plan to create a safe environment where my teammates can share ideas and can create positive impact in the student life. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks, Disha. And I should mention quickly that this is being recorded so that we can then upload this, and it will be available to students as they, as they come to the UMSU International site, especially when they're looking to vote. So thank you, Disha. Now, the next candidate is Mohan. Now, Mohan, you're out there.
Hi.
Excellent. Go for it, mate. Jared will start timing as soon as you start speaking.
Yeah, okay. My fellow international students, my name is Mohan Kawatra and I'm a second year Bachelor's of Design student. And it's an honor to put my name forward to be AMSA International's next president. I'm currently involved with AMSA International as an international student ambassador, and I'm already grateful to this organization for so much. It's provided me with amazing friends, a strong community, and a home away from home. And that is why I want to help build an even stronger AMSA International that connects all international students together. We all know that our community is facing with immense challenges. Almost 18 months of border closure has left families stranded all over the globe. The mental health crisis that young international students face has already escalated. Stories about hot bedding, student missing meals, inflexible academic procedures, all in the middle of this raging pandemic dominate our news feeds. Despite this, I know that if we all work together, a better future for international student community is possible. This year, AMSA International has done such a phenomenal job of connecting back to all its members, no matter where they are. As a student currently studying from India, I've always felt that AMSA International was looking out for me, and the office bearers actively included overseas ISAs. If elected, I will work with the HR department and set a minimum number of overseas ISAs until all international students are able to make it back to Australia. Likewise, I intend to maintain AMSA International's exceptional track record of effective advocacy for the past 2 years. If AMSA International shifts the new student precinct during the next year, I will ensure that the transition is smooth and AMSA International has full coverage of its offices, storage spaces, and the International Student Lounge. In the year of this transition, I will always center the need for mental health and student engagement services. I will support all AMSA International departments in their work to tackle any of these issues mentioned above. I understand that the role of the president requires a lot of hard work and a lot of commitment, and I'm excited to take on this opportunity. I will work closely with my own team while balancing our stakeholders, external stakeholders like ISA, CISA, Wickwise, Study Melbourne, and obviously AMSU, GSA, as well as the university. Since I'm overseas, I'm even more committed to bond with my community, and I'll be doing everything I can to come back and be with them on campus. If I'm trusted with this role by the international student community, I will work tirelessly to meet with your expectations and always treat you as my number one priority. Together, we can take AMSA International to new heights. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Thank you, Mohan. Now, as we said, there'll be an opportunity at the end of each position for a question and answer. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to type them into the chat function now. And then I will, obviously both Disha and Mohan can read them, and then they will get a chance to respond. So if you have any questions, feel free to type them into the chat function now, and then Disha and Mohan will get a chance to respond. Otherwise, we will move on to the next position.
Yeah, I actually have questions for them, if that's fine.
Yep, you can certainly, you can say them or you can type them, whichever is easier. So you say them because I've got a couple on the chat function. So go for it. First.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
So the role of AMSA International President is a really challenging and demanding one. What do you think will keep you motivated throughout your term to serve AMSA International and the International Student Committee the best way possible? This is for Disha, by the way. Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you so much for the question, Rachel. I think because I'm a person who's extremely passionate and ambitious, also because I'm pursuing politics and psychology, I always have wanted to create a change. And I am aware that all the hard work that if I were to win, and I will be putting in, will have an extremely fruitful outcome. And that is something which will always keep me motivated.
Excellent. Now, Mohan, I've got a question for you. When I say I have, the chat does, but so now you're an event director and an undergraduate ambassador. If you were to win president, how do you plan to manage your time?
Yeah, so during my time at the university, I'm a full-time student and I've been involved with a minimum of around 2 clubs at the same time. To make sure I was on top of all of this work, I always maintained an extensive calendar planner to never lose my focus and priorities. If I were to be elected, I will reduce my involvement with the student clubs as AMSU International will become my #1 priority. But if required, I would not hesitate to underload my studies so I can give more focus to AMSU International because my only goal for next year is for AMSU International to reach new heights.
Excellent, thank you. Now, I've got one for both of you, which is again off the chat function, so I won't take credit for it. What will you do to help overseas students connect better with the wider university community, both local and international? And Disha, I'll go first to you and then Mohan to you.
I think an increase in online events is something I would look at. I too am stranded in India, so I completely understand that we do feel a void. So yes, I think events is one way that we could help create connection with.
Great. Mohan?
So as we know, like AMSU International already has a lot of external stakeholders. So I think working with them to create a better environment for students all over the university is going to be key. So having all the different like Wickwise and Study Melbourne are like some of the external factors that we as a AMSU International community has, which I think if we work on them and having more external stakeholders and focusing on them can create a better student environment, which I feel is going to be key to connect all of the students together and create community.
Excellent, great work, guys. That so we'll move on. As I said, we'll have 2 questions. And as I do appreciate that people have more questions for the present, but we did limit it. And we do have a full board of candidates to get through. So we're going to move on to the next position, being Vice President, E&W in the, as we call it in the trade. Now, Anthony, are you there?
Hello, can you hear me?
I certainly can hear you, Anthony. So
Yep.
go for your life. You have 3 minutes.
All right, sure. Thank you, Gavin. All right, good afternoon, fellow international students. First of all, I would like to thank you for sparing time in this busy moment attending this session. My priority is solely the well-being of international students, and it provokes me when I hear various experiences of international students not receiving what they deserve. With the ongoing pandemic, thousands of international students are still stuck overseas, receiving a lower quality of education. Concurrently, international students are also in Australia, not being able to reunite with their families. This stress and burden is further amplified by the fact that most classes are still online. As international students, we are imposed on numerous pain points, and currently the university has not done enough to satisfy our education and welfare needs. Working closely with the Education and Welfare Vice President, significant steps have been taken to rectify the situation, but the problem has not yet been fully solved. I believe that we should further pressure the university to take action. My main goals for this term, if I were to be elected, are 1. For an organized and safe return to campus for both international students in Australia and overseas. 2. Compensations and benefits for international students. This may be in monetary forms such as free remissions, discounts, or non-monetary manners such as flexible class hours, no document-based RSL or leave of absence applications, and catch-up practical sessions. Lastly, improving on the dual delivery system for education and welfare events to cater to everyone's needs, both in and outside of Australia. My fellow international students, let your voices be heard. I will make sure that AMSU International will be there to support you always. Vote for Anthony Ngadioto for Education and Welfare Vice President, and I will make sure that your vote won't go to waste. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Anthony. So we've got now Nadine. Now, Nadine, are you out there?
Yep, I'm here.
Excellent, Nadine. Go for it. You have 3 minutes.
Hello everyone, my name is Nadine and I'm running for Vice President of Education and Welfare. I am a second-year student studying Bachelor of Commerce, majoring in Finance and Management, and I am from Indonesia. I have actively been an ISA for the past 4 months, volunteering in numerous events such as planning the mini carnival, scavenger hunt, and many more. My experience as an ISA has allowed me to get a better understanding of how UMSU International operates, which will be beneficial for my transition to my role. If I were elected as Vice President of Education and Welfare, the first thing I would do is to make sure that UMSU International maintains a comfortable and cohesive working environment. Since most of the people joining the next committee will be new, this might cause some conflicts to arise in terms of working dynamic and teamwork. Therefore, I would introduce some internal bonding activities, which I hope will be able to tighten the bond within the committee and maintain team morale. Most importantly, I will ensure that the international students' needs are prioritized. I'm aware that many international students who are new to the university struggle with making new friends and balancing their course loads, which will inevitably affect their mental and physical health, especially during this pandemic. If I were elected, I would make sure that physical and mental health services are more accessible and easily navigable for students. And one way for that is to implement a page where all information is listed and increase the exposure of these services. Secondly, I do realize that COVID has impacted many families financially, and therefore I'm committed to providing international students with continuous support, such as continuing to give out free meal packs and basic necessities for those who need them amongst many. Moreover, I would like to emphasize on creating meaningful friendships and experiences for international students through UMSU International's events. Since COVID hit, job prospects for the future are also increasingly uncertain. Furthermore, I have noticed that it is more difficult for international students to get internships due to PR or citizen requirements. I fully intend on investing more on providing students with academic support, eliminating language barriers between international students, and equipping them with the fundamental skills needed for their future careers by collaborating with other student clubs or partners to create more career-based events, such as career workshops and networking events. If I become VP of Education and Welfare, I will ensure that my actions reflect what is demanded by international students, and I will focus on how I can benefit them. Lastly, although I do know that the VP role is not a menial task, I will put in my best effort and strive to exceed UMSU International's and the international students' expectations. Once again, my name is Nadine, and I'm running for Vice President of Education and Welfare.
Excellent, Nadine. Thank you. We'll go through now. As I said before, we've limited questions, but I've looked through, and I think we've got more time. I won't say more time for more questions than just 2 for the executive candidates. So I'll allow 4 questions. So, as I said, I've got a couple of questions that have been sent through on the chat. So this is the first one, and so we'll go as I said again. We'll go in the order that people spoke. So, what do you see as the role and value of the Education and Welfare Vice President in bringing success to UMSU International? And I'll go to you firstly, Anthony.
Yep, thank you for that, Gavin, and thank you for that question. I feel that the Education and Welfare Vice President role is very critical because as you know, UMSU International itself holds a very large extent of problems, and we deal with a lot of negotiations with the university and also directly on physical events with the students. I feel that the vice president role is very important because it is a bridge between the students and also the university part, since we are relaying the students' expectations to the university, whilst also trying to help students to improve their education and welfare overall. So I guess it goes both ways, and that's why I feel that it's very crucial for this position. Yep, thank you.
Yep, so as we know, UMSU International is the official representative for all international students. And as a VP, my actions will reflect what is demanded of international students, meaning that everything that I will be doing will be towards benefiting them and having their issues in mind. And I will be working with the rest of the EXCO to find solutions to the issues that they are facing. And I will try my hardest to exceed their expectations.
Excellent. Now, the second question and now this is not my questions, by the way, these are very well-informed questions from the general community out there. As the Education and Welfare Vice President, you will both be a leader to the organisation and a manager in both of your departments. How do you see these roles intersecting, and how will you balance out your role? So go for it, Anthony.
So, sorry, can you repeat that question, Gavin?
I can say that again. I do have a tendency to just speak very fast, so I'll clear that up. As the Education and Welfare Vice President, you'll be both a leader to the organisation and a manager to both of your departments. How do you see these roles intersecting, and how will you balance out your role?
Yep, thank you for that. So as the current education director, I think I've experienced on the two different responsibilities here in question. And I do experience on how difficult it is to manage, but over time I have really managed it well by having meetings and a lot of briefings. So make sure that we're prepared and plan. And I think that's one of the most important things to balance my role. Yep.
Yeah. Nadine?
So I personally feel that having balanced different student clubs, a part-time job, and my studies all together this past year has really helped me cultivate and develop my time management, organizational, and multitasking skills, which I feel are three of the most important skills needed to juggle all my roles. Furthermore, I will make sure that I'm always organized with the responsibilities that I have, and I will ensure that I maintain great communication with others and within the organization to make sure that I fulfill all my duties and roles. And I do know that the Education and Welfare Vice President is in charge of both education and welfare departments. And I do believe that I can manage them both well. Okay, thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Now, if anyone else has any questions, feel free to then put them into the chat function, or if you have a question, you're welcome to speak now. I've still got a couple of questions that I'm allowing for this position. So if anyone has that, feel free to go for it now. The awkward silence of Zoom when you ask for questions and get none, but that's fine. It's fine. I don't take it personally. So excellent. Well, thank you, Anthony, and thank you, Nadine. Now we have the Vice President, Cultural and Social, and I think we have Noah is the first to speak. Now, Noah, are you there?
Yep, I'm here.
Excellent. Now I can hear you very well, so feel free to start speaking, and Jared will start timing.
Hi, my name is Noah Lee, and I'm a first-year Bachelor of Science student in Mechanical Systems. And currently, there's a major issue of international students not being able to integrate into the Australian lifestyle of the pandemic. Like language barriers, cultural barriers don't help, and it's difficult for students to reach out outside of Zoom classes to connect with each other. And this has led to a giant divide between the two student groups. And that's not okay. And I want to change that. And if remote teaching continues until next semester, the social meetups and our current efforts won't be enough to integrate my fellow overseas students into the Australian culture and lifestyle. I believe I'm the best qualified for this job because I have 4 years of experience in this exact role. I spent over 10 years in America as an international student, and all throughout high school, I acted as a student mediator between foreign and native students. I helped students coming from Germany, Denmark, China, Japan, India, etc., and integrate into the American lifestyle, which is pretty bizarre, and helping them to fit in with their new surroundings and make long-lasting connections with their fellow staff and students. I want to share this experience and knowledge with my fellow remote learners out there. I was luckily able to make a very tight-knit friend group with a lot of Australian students and international students because of my past experience. And through them, I've learned a lot about Australian culture and like the social norms. And as your cultural and social vice president, I will make sure that you guys can have the same success that I'm having as a remote international student and have as much fun as I'm having. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks, Noah. Now, we move on to Aaron if he's we got there. Yeah.
Yep, I'm
Aaron,
here.
if you're out there, excellent. Well, that go for it, mate. We can hear you loud and clear.
All right, thank you. Before I begin, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners and custodians of the land. I'd also like to pay my respects to the elders past, present, and emerging. Hi, I'm Aaron Johannes, running for Vice President of Culture and Social. First of all, I would like to take the time to sincerely thank everyone, both the past and present committee, for giving me the opportunity to become a better version of myself, but ultimately grooming me for my next chapter in AMSU International. Coming in as an international student ambassador back in 2019, I was truly fortunate to be placed in the hands of a noble group of office bearers who took the initiative to guide me and teach me valuable knowledge in the field of planning and execution. Having completed the IC program, I was elected as Officer of Culture and Social last year. I am beyond grateful to work with a multicultural team who have constantly supported and is really empathetic when catering to the needs of international students. Being in the shoes of an officer this past year has provided me with a mutual understanding of the demands and responsibilities of committee members, enabling me to provide a cohesive environment for the team as I look forward to extending my term in AMSU International as Vice President of Culture and Social. As a leader, I bring my vast knowledge and experience of both online and physical events to provide the necessary guidance, however, ensuring the team is given the freedom to explore different ideas. Over the past term, the department has undoubtedly done an incredible job to ensure that the culture and social well-being of students has been taken care of through many notable events such as Festival of Nations and International Film Festival, and more recently, Amazing Race held online during lockdown. However, the lack of cultural diversity has been evident from our attendance record details present in the event reports. As Vice President, I would like to close the gap, ensuring inclusivity from all cultural backgrounds through establishing a bridge with external organizations and clubs. The increase in diversity enables AMSU International to further promote a cross-culture understanding towards a majority of the international student body. I strongly believe that building intimate relationship with other organizations is paramount for AMSU International to expose our meaningful events to a wider range of students where surely many can benefit from. Going into another year of uncertainty for most international students, we have great challenges, but we do also have great opportunities. And with your help, we will surely meet them and make this year a better one. Help me, let me help you make this need. Vote for me, Aaron Johannes. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you, Aaron. Now, the next person on the list we have Angela. If you are out there, Angela.
Yep, I'm here. Can you guys
Perfect.
hear
We
me?
can hear you very well. So go. for it.
Okay, so I think I'll start. Hi guys, I'm Angela and I'm running to be the next Cultural and Social Vice President. With what the world is going through presently, one thing it has taught me is that it is really important to embrace diversity. Being able to be part of a diverse community has made me understand the different cultures present and celebrate the diversity present at the university. Being part of the UMSU international community has been a really important experience for me, as it has helped me in making friends and getting the chance to help others. And being the next Cultural and Social Vice President, I hope to help others create wonderful memories as well. I always love learning about new cultures, and I believe that is an important trait for everyone. As we slowly shift back to our on-campus learning, I plan to have events both for those who are in Melbourne and also those that are presently stuck overseas. I want both to have an equal opportunity to be part of the university community, and I hope to give everyone equal opportunity to be part of our events. I am a team player in which I believe communication and discussion with each other gets the work done effectively. I will work together as a team with the other members of my team, hold extensive discussions and come to a solution together. I believe that success, especially in these times, comes from working together effectively as a team. The lockdowns and pandemic has made it difficult for all international students, for those in Melbourne and those overseas. Becoming the next CNS Vice President, I hope to be able to celebrate the multicultural diversity present in our university community and bring the international student body closer to one another. I hope that my position will help in students in building everlasting friendships that support one another. Lastly, it has been a difficult time for us, but I hope that changes are happening for the better. I hope I can lead together with the new community where we celebrate diversity and support one another. So vote for me as the next Cultural and Social Vice President.
Excellent. Thank you, Angela. Now, as I say, I have a couple of questions that I received on the chat, so I will go straight into that, and we'll go through the same order as we did before. So Noah, you'll be first, then Aaron, then Angela. So we have seen a decrease in participation for online events, and until the Australian borders are fully opened and all international students can return, I reckon that we would still be holding online events. Do you have any idea of how to increase participation rates for these?
I believe a way to increase these event turnout is not just emailing them, but also notifying every single subject or courses, like engineering department, the commerce department, and all of them, to let their students know that these events exist, because a lot of people have stopped checking their email or have unsubscribed actually.
Excellent, go for it, Aaron.
Yes, so having done 2 big major online events last semester, I realized that participants like interaction. So creating events with lots of interaction and movement like allows participants to be interested and come again to our events. And also another idea I've thought of is like, since we are not allowed to travel around and coming into Australia, but participants can actually meet with each other in their own countries if the government regulations allow. So hosting events and giving ideas allows them to actually create opportunities for them to meet, even though we're not physically there, but this will allow them to continue their culture and social life in their respective countries. So that's just a thought. Thank you.
Beautiful, go for it, Angela.
I guess one of the things that online events lack is the engagement that is present in physical events. So I think if we're planning for online events, it is best to plan an event where we get to engage with one another, as in we get to do discussions and solve and get to talk and do some games together. Those are some things that have been seen, that where a lot of people online engagement, where interactive games are one thing. Also, another thing is just like if people in the same countries, they can have, as with social medias, they can get each other's contact and get in touch with one another. I guess one of the reasons it could also be that online events is lacking is that it's harder to reach out to one another, but I hope like to create events where it would be easier for each other to reach out for a support system to one another.
Excellent. And now I have another question, because the question out there to the community. International, how would you represent the whole of UMSU International and bring about the values of the cultural and social department at the same time? So go for it, Noah. Now, if you want me to reread the question, I'm more than happy to.
Please do. You cut out for like half of it.
Yeah, that's excellent. I saw that my internet connection was unstable, so I will get. So, being the vice president of UMSU International, how would you represent the whole of UMSU International and bring about the values of the cultural and social department at the same time?
I would represent the UMSU international body as a whole by doing my best to learn about every single diverse ethnic groups as possible, as well as surround myself with people with various ideas and keep an open mind to let everyone be able to talk and make sure that no one is feeling left out or unheard, because that's not fun.
Great, go for it, Aaron.
Yeah, so as mentioned before, I aim to reach out to other clubs that are existing in both the university and outside organizations, that I'll be able to hear from them, know what's happening from different clubs from different countries, and that way I'll be able to integrate it into our UMSU International events and probably create the best events for the whole community and not just what the people we have so far.
Excellent, thanks, Aaron. Now go for it, Angela.
Gavin, do you mind repeating the question?
I most certainly can. Well, I don't mind, and I will certainly repeat the question. I will just pull it up. Now, being the Vice President of UMSU International, how would you represent the whole of UMSU International and bring about the values of the Cultural and Social Department at the same time?
I guess in this is that well, our university have a lot of people from different backgrounds and cultures. I guess it would be best if we can reach out to clubs and societies for that, while also reaching out to like important student bodies in Melbourne to get in touch with what we can do together as a team to celebrate the diversity and diverse culture that is present in our university and in the community as well. Because I believe that it has been a difficult time for all of us, and being able to meet new people from different backgrounds is a really great thing.
Excellent, thank you. Now, I don't have any more questions now, so if anyone has any questions, feel free to put them on the chat now. Otherwise, I will move to our secretary position. So do we have any more questions? No, excellent. We will move on to, but I see a new message. Question, there we go. We have one more question. Good work, just beating the bell there. Do you believe big budgets for in-person events like the Festival of Nations Night Market and Film Festival are still needed? I'll say that again because my children decided to come in at the same time. So do you believe that a big budget for in-person events like the Festival of Nations Night Market and Film Festival are still needed?
With our current circumstances, I don't believe those festivals need as big of a budget as they used to. Obviously, it is an important event and it's fun for in-person students, which is also important. But I believe setting aside some of that budget towards international events, it may be online or whatnot, to better integrate the international students into the Australian culture and lifestyle would be much more efficient and productive, because the big budget that they used to have was back when international students were able to come to in-person classes where they can go to the festivals in person, enjoy it. But right now we're not able to do that.
Thanks, Noah. Go for it, Aaron.
Yes, so of course, events such as Festival of Nations, Night Market, Film Festival, they've been really one of the big events in AMSU International, and it has done undoubtedly did pretty well for the past few years. However, due to the COVID restrictions, we're not probably going to be able to have that soon. So what I'm thinking is that we can instead reach out to like many international students and talk to them, ask them what they feel like and what problems that we can actually solve, and create actually more meaningful events, which doesn't have to be high in budget, but instead being more meaningful and impactful towards them, so that we can ensure that their culture and social life is being met and their mental well-being is also taken care of.
Thanks, Aaron. Now, Angela, go for it.
One of the things we do this Festival of Nations Night Market and Film Festival are like tradition for us, but it's also, besides this big budget of events, is really, really meaningful because firstly, it helps students experience something outside of their university studies, as in it gets them to make new friends, to meet new people, and also get a chance for them to relax and enjoy as well. But also, while we also keep in the cultural part of it in it by celebrating the diverse culture through our food, through decorations, and through entertainment, it is important as well, as it's because celebrating the diversity makes us multicultural and learn more from one another as well.
Excellent. Thanks, Angela. Now, that's all the questions I have. So we'll move on to the Vice President Media and Communications position. Now, Chaital, are you out there?
Yep.
Excellent. Well, that go for it. You've got 3 minutes, so go for it if you would like.
So good afternoon, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well during this difficult time of COVID-19. My name is Chaital Basta, and I'm an international student from Nairobi, Kenya. So being an international student who moved here 3 years ago, it was quite difficult for me to connect with other students during my first year and actually get involved in the university experience. However, this year I was able to attend the events hosted by AMSU International, where I was able to meet with people, have a chat with them, and also enjoy the amazing university experience offered. So through volunteering as an ISA, I was able to talk to other students who shared very similar experiences, and some of them had very little knowledge about the strong, diverse community present at UMSU International or how to get involved, where some of them viewed UMSU International as an organization where you would only go with like friends or have someone to go with. And this made it difficult to communicate with other students due to the fear of not fitting in and building connections and actually attending events. So as potentially future MNC vice president, I will work with the media and communications subcommittee and HR director to come up with unique ideas, which will assist in promoting the team of UMSU International as a welcoming community where students are not afraid of approaching us and become aware that we are here for them and that we're always going to be there for them. An example of this would be enhancing cultural representation from different countries, so students are not like left out or feeling homesick, and that they're able to learn more about each other. I want to encourage students from diverse backgrounds to connect with UMSU International, feel at home, and promote equal opportunities. And I feel like this can be improved with the help of ISAs and representation of different culture on social media. By further also connecting with other parts of UMSU, we can influence awareness and growth and the international presence. I strive to work with my team to strongly help UMSU International grow, and so that everyone feels connected and have a strong relationship. Thank you.
Thank you, Chaital. Now that's we looked as to who we've got next. Now, who we've got next is Feline. Now, Feline, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Excellent. Go for it. We can hear you. So go for, speak when you'd like.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Feline Phoenicia. I'm from Indonesia and I'm applying for the position of Media and Communications Vice President. I think I'm qualified for the position as I'm in the publicity team committee for Malaysians of Melbourne Uni Club. So I can transfer the skills learned to this position. I also manage their social media, so I'll be able to address issues regarding UMSU International's communication. Also, I won't be having any problem with the time commitment as I'm majoring in management and marketing, and I think it's relatively very doable. If I were to be elected for this position, my goal is to increase UMSU International's reach and impression by changing the style of the post. I admit to skipping most of the promotional posts that cross my feed, including UMSU International. I will suggest improvements on the style of the post to make it more visually exciting and less distinguishable as a promotional post, such as posting more documentaries and also doing more Instagram live on events. I would also aim to increase participation in our events by making use of personal word of mouth. So instead of just asking the committee and the ISA volunteers to repost our posts, we can ask them to refer to at least 3 other fans outside of the committee and encourage them to join the event. I would also ensure that communication between departments is excellent so that teamwork and cohesion of UMSU International is maintained or even enhanced. That will be all from me. Thank you so much for your time.
Excellent. Thank you, Feline. Now I have some questions. And when I say I have some questions I've received. Now, if you need it, there's a little bit to this one. So if you need me to ask it again, let me know. So there was an incident. Now, this is obviously a scenario. This is not actually, that there has been an incident. There was an incident in your last event caused by one of the committee members / ISAs. It is recorded and broadcasted online and talked about on campus quite a lot. This is estimated to heavily affect both UMSU International and UMSU in general. What would you do? So, Chaital, first to you.
Since it's already viral on social media, I feel like the response is to respond to the problem directly. We would like, depending on the situation and who is involved, we would like first come to have a chat with them, come together with a common solution. Therefore, also acknowledge the problem on social media, because I feel it's better to take responsibility rather than just hide it, because representation really matters. And if we're able to solve the problem and both everyone has an equal say, it would be good.
Excellent. Now, Feline, go for it.
I will first of all publicly apologize and apologizing directly also to the parties that are affected. And I will talk to the person responsible and ask them for like reasons of why it happened or like how it happened, and make a system that will in the future avoid this problem.
Excellent. Now I have the next question. Now, as I say, if you need me to ask it again, let me know. But many of the new international students would have started their semesters being stuck overseas and thus would have zero exposure to UMSU International's presence on campus. How do you think you'll be able to reach out to these students who may never have heard of the Student Union or UMSU International before?
So taking inspiration from what other universities and overseas, some of them have common Instagram accounts that are dedicated to each year that is present. And I feel that is good because students have an opportunity to introduce themselves, what they're studying, what they're doing, and then always have a statement like, oh, always hit me up. And then if this is organized by UMSU International, students would engage more with that page and like more, and then they would become more aware of that. Also, it's a platform of connection. You can also promote the online events there as well. So they know that people who are promoting themselves on that page are also going through the same thing, so they're not alone.
Excellent. No, just talking while I'm muted. If there isn't once, I do that every Zoom. Now, Feline, go for it.
I will probably do more collaborations with other clubs and society. So, for example, like I can post more about like the Malaysian club, and like the Malaysian club can post more about like UMSU International, and that will increase the awareness of our club. And we can also do the personal word of mouth, as I said before, where we can refer to like friends, like encourage people to refer to, like give them like a minimum target, like I'll get 3 friends to join our club event, something like that. Yeah.
Thank you. Now I have the next question. A lot of students still confuse UMSU International for UMSU in general, or that it's simply just another club in the university. How would you ensure that UMSU International has its own unique brand that stands out from UMSU in general and other UMSU departments?
I feel like this can be enhanced by focusing on enhancing merch, especially if you promote merch separately, because clubs and societies don't have strong merch, but whereas UMSU does. So if we're able to enhance merch and as well as events through social media, we're able to distinguish that we're not part of like really that well connected to UMSU, and that we are a strong representation of the international community, and thus students will able to connect more.
Excellent. Thanks, Jojo. Go for it, Feline.
I would probably, I'm sorry, I was a bit distracted by the sound in the background.
No,
can you repeat the question?
I most certainly can. So, and I'll just quickly open it up so I'm go through it in detail. A lot of students still confuse UMSU International for the main body itself, so the student union itself, or that it's simply just another club in the university. How would you ensure that UMSU International has its own unique brand that stands out from the student union and other UMSU departments?
I would promote inclusiveness of each different country. So specifically mentioning like the majority of international countries in the university. So like mentioning that, we have like a lot of Indonesians in UMSU International, and like we have a lot of like Indians. So like making them feel welcome and that this is for them. Yeah, because like the culture is very different with AMSU, where it's mostly like Australians that promoting like individual countries.
Excellent. Thank you, Blaine. Well, that's all the questions that I had. So unless anyone's got one they want to ask in the old-fashioned way by saying it, we shall move on. Now, I have, now Chaitel, you are now as well nominated for secretary. So we come back to you and we talk about the secretary position. Now, as I say before, if you've got any questions, feel free to put them on the chat to me directly or to everyone in general. You're welcome to do both. If they come to me, I'll ask them. But when you send them over, there's no danger in sending them early. You can send me questions as soon as we get onto that position, send them straight away. So Chaitel, without further ado, I will go back to you to talk about the secretary position.
Hello again. So I am also running for secretary as well. Currently being an ISA, I am strongly aware about how events go about, ensuring that events are successful as well, and being a strong and exemplary representative of the AMSU International organization when meeting new students. Being an ISA, I was able to lead a group of students, ensuring that I'm carrying out my responsibilities efficiently, as well as initiating conversation and create a connection with them as well. As future secretary, I aspire to work closely with the president and committee members to improve the working relationship, as well as create a strong representative for other students so that we can all work towards a common goal. One of the key aspects of this role that I feel is very necessary is being organized and being able to communicate well, which are two of the strongest qualities as I possess. Being someone who's understanding and patient, I am able to appreciate different matters in relation to public relations and performance of AMSU International. I'm an individual who's enthusiastic, and I'm willing to work with my team members to make a change, and I would like to mirror the same qualities in the committees that I will be working with. A key conflict I see when taking up the role of a secretary is balancing the responsibilities which come from the exec committee and as well as the directors. As secretary, I would take this challenge as an opportunity to ensure that when supervising and assisting my team, the goals which work towards the growth of AMSU International are put first when making decisions, and ensuring that performance relationship between directors and the team is improving for the better. I feel like ensuring a good relationship between directors, the team, and as well as international students is a good way to improve morale, and also diminish the line of formality where students are afraid of approaching us, and it makes it working with each other more easier. Thank you.
Excellent, thanks Chaitel. Now, Mohan, if you are there again, you were there before, but hopefully you're still here.
Yeah, I'm here. I would just like to cede my speaking time for the role of secretary, so that's okay.
All right, thank you. Excellent. Well, we'll move on to some questions if we do. Let's see if I've got any questions, which I do not. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to put them on the chat now. Otherwise, I will move on to the next position. Does anyone have any questions? I will just check. Oh, there we go. We do have one. We got scared there for a moment. The role of secretary is incredibly intensive and may require you to work a lot on ad hoc projects alongside the president. How would you adapt to the rigorous scheduling and management of several projects? Chaitel, go for it.
So in order to perform well in this role, I am planning to underload next semester so that I have more time and dedication towards this role. Secondly, I feel as a student who studies architecture, I am very, very well capable of managing my time and knowing how to organize my schedule, because I know how intensive roles can get, and I'm able to differentiate what is important during what time.
Excellent. Mohan, would you like to answer that?
Yep, similar to Chantal, I'm also doing architecture and construction. So I think I know how to prioritize my time. And similar to her, I'm also trying to reduce my study load for the next semester, which I think is going to help me if I want to help the president as much as I can. Yes.
Great. All right. That's all the questions I have. So we will move on to the treasurer position. So we have the first person listed for treasurer is Hans. If you're there.
Yep, I'm here.
Excellent. Well, I can hear you very well, mate. So go for it.
Okay. Before I start, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we meet and pay my respects to their elders past and present. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Hans Tai, and I am running for treasurer. I come from the Philippines, and I am currently studying Bachelor of Commerce, majoring in accounting and finance, while working as an assistant accountant in the company. Hence, I have some background knowledge that can be applied in me being treasurer. Furthermore, I'm also currently part of the ISA, International Student Ambassador Program, since the start of the year, having achieved of 100 plus hours. This gave me a feel of what it's like to be part of the community, experience the work culture, and visualize matters that can be further improved. Firstly, I would like to say a misconception that people think of what a treasurer is. An individual who only handles the financial aspects of the community. However, it is just more than that. The treasurer would be working closely with each department. That being said, working together will help the treasurer determine what funds need to be allocated, and if so, we can justify why we need that amount. I, as treasurer, will make sure that we as a community go beyond the box, and that is not by just increasing each department's funds, but to utilize the funds efficiently and appropriately. Additionally, working well in a team is essential to success, and in a team, if we work together, we would be able to reach heights no one has ever reached before in UMSU Moreover, I was also a resident leader in a student accommodation wherein I planned events for big occasions and dinners, so I know how to budget well for events. Thus, there is no reason if I were to be treasurer to just decline a department's proposal because of over budgeting, since there would always be an option B, and if that does not work, we have till letter Z. Lastly, I would like to make a point that despite Melbourne doing well in terms of handling the pandemic, we are still to think about our fellow international friends back in their home countries who are struggling and longing for a university experience. That is why I, as treasurer, would suggest the fellow committee members continue doing online events, and I would give full support on what they need financially, since we owe it to them for voting as their committee members. We can utilize the funds more broadly and bring more people towards the UMSU International Community. For this, I aim to include budgets for events that were popular before COVID happened, such as Festival of Nations, night market, and weekly barbecue, to gather more people to join and make friends in our community. I would like to thank everyone for being able to attend this policy speech session and hear what I have to say. I hope to be able to work with you, and best of luck, my fellow candidates. UMSU International will be in good hands. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we've got, if Gary is there.
Yep, I'm here.
Excellent.
Shall I begin?
We can hear you very well, so go for it, mate.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Gary Tannert. I'm a first-year student in UniMelb. Also, similar to Hans, I'm a Bachelor of Commerce, currently pursuing in actuarial studies. So the reason I think I'm very suited to this treasurer position is similar to Hans. I have a background within working in my father's real estate company of like first-hand real-world experience on how to handle the finances, which proper allocation, like provision of finances, will like better suit running the company. And also within the commerce major, I've learned how to properly handle financial allocation, learn how to publish a balance sheet, income statement properly, as well as keep up-to-date records and audit and make sure the finances are handled properly. In regards to like the policy, I believe majority of our international students are currently abroad, and there's only a very few population. So as Hans has previously said, I think it's very important that we keep up to date with all the international students being abroad, going through hard times, and like maybe keep in contact, keep up to date their mental health, make sure they're doing okay. Arrange these online events that seems very interesting to them, that like really focuses on their engagement, like such as events that include maybe Kahoot and stuff, where the international students coming into Zoom will actually feel like they're part of the call, whereas like instead of what just randomly like listening to it and them not feeling too engaged. Additionally, I forgot to mention, I'm also a part of the sponsorship officer in the International Commerce Student Society. And through that, I've managed to secure like different sponsorships with KT Mart, this immigration agency, like earning around like roughly $1,500 in sponsorship money. So I feel I'm very well equipped with like the amount of like the correct amount of finances maybe a club needs for the different kinds of like amount of money they need to run this event. Additionally, as Hans have said, I completely agree with him that being a treasurer is more than just provision of finances. I believe it's also having good interpersonal and collaborating skills, as the treasurer will have to work with a bunch of different small groups within UMSU International that want to arrange events. And having been part of like my student council back in my old school, I believe I'm very well skilled in like talking to people and managing my personal relationships with them. I'd like to thank you all for listening to my speech, and let's hope for the best. And thanks, Hans, for running as well.
Excellent. Thanks, Gary. Now, I do have some questions that I received on the chat. So as I said before, if I'm not clear enough or I cut out, just ask me to ask them again. So now the first question is, what are the key points that you think an executive needs to consider before making any decision, especially in the case of financial decisions? Go for it, Hans. Your hands first.
I would say that you really have to, first of all, plan it really well, because like we're talking about big figures here. It's not just like 1,000 or like 2,000. There's like a big community, because we're UMSU International, so we're talking about international students. So we have to really think about what the students need, what the international students need. So like looking at the situation that we are in right now. So we're in a pandemic. So I think it's better if we, have online events, and then they really need the support as well. So mental health. So I think, what budgets for these one would help for, UMSU International. Yeah.
Excellent. Thanks, Hans. Go for it, Gary.
For me, I think when planning for an event, the budgeting, we first have to take into consideration the number of potential events we're planning for the semester. Also, the number of predicted participants, like how many people we're trying to maybe attract, so we can properly allocate the number of like funds we have to the facilities required to plan the event, how much it costs to like rent or book the space, how much the pricing would be for the food or snacks, and like how many people we assume would come. And assuming the events out of UniMelb, different areas require us different prices to like rent the different places require different price points to like rent the location. So I think that's very important to take into account as well.
Excellent. I'll just, now I do have several more questions, so I'll just quickly go through. Now, how would you juggle your roles being part of the ExCo? Now, obviously, that's just short for Executive Committee, Treasurer, and managing P&S.
Well, the short answer would be time management, of course, but coming from studying full time while working part-time jobs as an assistant accountant, and I was a resident leader as well. And being part of the ISA program, I learned how to say no, and that's not because like I won't be able to, I'm not capable of fulfilling them or doing them, but like saying no, you would be able to prioritize the tasks you have on hand, and in doing that, you would be able to finish them, and then you would be able to accept new ones that is given to you. Because if you have a lot of tasks, that you're juggling with, it gets accumulated and makes you stress and panic, and that's not really good. If you're an exco, a treasurer, and you're managing PNS, like they would want to see you as someone who's able to deal with his own roles. And then lastly, like asking for help would be beneficial as well. Not just like, let's say if I'm elected as treasurer and juggling being exco, managing PNS and treasurer, but like anyone in the committee would need help as well. And that's why like working in a team that's the point of working in a team, to support and help one another. So yeah, thank you.
Right. Go for it, Gary.
Similar to Hans, I'm very experienced in like juggling a lot of work at once. Back in high school, I used to be part of the student council and helping my dad's company while going through school. So I feel I'm very well equipped to like deal with the high workload. Additionally, ever since I've started university, I've also been working part-time in a cafe. So I think I'm in regards to it, if I feel like the workload is adding up too much, I've been allowed to take less shifts within my part-time or quit at it fully, so I can fully focus in my role as secretary in UMSU International. And also I believe that through the help of UMSU International being a very family-like environment, I could always ask the help of my peers to assist me if I feel like the workload is too much for me. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Now on to our next question. In terms of would you ensure that the budget is equally allocated between overseas and international students, i.e. a similar value for online and in-person events? So when we say overseas, international students located overseas. And if so, how would you do that? Go for it, Hans. You get first chop at it.
Can you repeat the question? Sorry.
I most certainly can. So would you ensure that the budget is equally allocated between international students located overseas and international students located in Melbourne on campus? So, it being a similar value for obviously online and in-person events. And if so, how would you do that?
Like for budget wise, like for online events and like and face-to-face events, like for sure face-to-face events would have, it would cost more. But then I guess like if I'm part of I'm managing PNS department as well if I were to be treasurer. So we can utilize, like our sponsors for prizes or like any help that they might be able to give, for certain events like face-to-face. And then for online events, since we don't need to, rent location, so it's mostly online. So I guess like we don't really have to spend that much in terms of doing online events, but yeah, that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Go for it, Gary.
For my answer regarding the allocation of funds for both international students out of Australia and in Australia, the answer to that is unfortunately no. I don't think we can allocate the funds equally because I feel like this for international students not currently based in Australia, most of the events will be online based, and for online events, the only funds we require, I'm assuming, is maybe hiring a lecture, maybe to do a talk, maybe. I don't think online events, as Hans have said previously, require that much funds. At the same, and there's always like other ways we can go around engaging students online through like free methods such as like Kahoot, Garlic Phone, these type of games that keep them more engaged throughout the events. However, for like students currently based in Australia, we can expand more of our funds to like hold events like the Carnival last week, which was like very, I think, although I was not part of the team, I thought it was very well run, and a lot of the international friends I had found it very fun and interesting. I believe funding offline events to the students that are still here, giving more funds towards that would be more important rather than the online allocating more funds to these online events. Thank you.
Now I'll just check whether I have any more questions, which I do not. If anyone has any old school questions that they want to ask actually just directly, feel free. Otherwise, I will move on to the next position, which is the Education Director's position. So unless we have any more questions for Gary and Hans, I'll move on to the next position. So as we say, it's the Education Director position. So Arshia, do we have Arshia out there? It may be our first, or unless you're muted, Arshia. Excellent. I don't think I have an Arshia, unless anyone can see Arshia. Then I'll move on to Sophia. Now, Sophia, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Excellent, Sophia. Well, earlier than you thought, you are able to speak. So you have 3 minutes to speak there, Sophia.
Okay. Hi, my name is Sophia Yap. I'm running for the position of Education Director. As an education officer this year, I have been directly involved in the planning and organization of PR visa workshops. I helped out with the PTE IELTS workshop, and I was the co-head for Design Week series. My experience has taught me a lot about coordination, partnerships, and running both online and offline events. Moving forward, I wish to apply my past experience and expand education workshops as director. In particular, I aim to run sustainability or environmental awareness workshops as we had not been able to do so this semester. Australia is one of the most vulnerable countries to climate change due to its geographical location. Yet, its economy is extremely dependent on the production of fossil fuels. We frequently talk about the dangers of climate change and the importance of sustainable development, but few have the opportunity to learn about concrete and effective actions we can take. Another area I would like to focus on is financial literacy. Accounting and finance students are able to learn about how to deal with taxes, superannuation, and spending, but others, including myself, in other faculties find it difficult to navigate through financial terminology and information. To share an experience, I was once scam called about not paying my taxes the past year by someone claiming to be from the Australian tax office. I had panicked until I told my flatmate, who then explained I didn't have to pay taxes until I reached a threshold of earnings. Financial knowledge like this is applicable to everyone's lives, but it is not the most accessible. I wish to address these gaps in environmental awareness and financial literacy. In doing so, I aim to provide international students with skills that assist them in both realistic and powerful ways. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Now, Sophia, we now move on to Jagat. If Jagat is there. Jagat,
Hi, Gavin. Can you hear me?
Yes, I most certainly can. Go for it.
All right, thank you. Hey, everyone. So I'm going to be honest with this speech. My name is Jagat Krishnamurthy, and I'm from Sri Lanka. I'm currently pursuing a Bachelor of Design degree, majoring in Civil Systems and Construction. So yeah, it's a double major program. When I first heard about AMSU International having an annual general election, the first impression that I had in mind was that I should get involved in some way. But then, to be honest, I was skeptical for a number of reasons. I'm currently located in Sri Lanka, and we overseas international students have been going through a lot recently. We have been showing resilience to cope up with everything that's going on. And in the meantime, online study is challenging. So this made me think, can I really do this? Allocate time despite my current workload. This is when I thought about my past life, what I have been through in uni, and that is something that I really want to share it with everybody today. I joined the University of Melbourne in 2019. I had no clue what happens in a university. I started talking with people around me, and that got me into Design Student Society Gen Com in my first semester. This only got better with time. The very next semester, I was chosen as a UniMelb undergrad ambassador. And this is where I've been actively taking part in events such as marketing, being a panelist, talking to students about being a smooth transition into university life, and really expressing my true self. Now, this relationship, the student-school relationship, is where I give back for the knowledge and experience I gain. In fact, if you think about it, the motive behind our clubs, communities, and even student unions is to give back to society, right? And me being so passionate about it made my choice to stand for the education director role. Now, you all might be wondering, why education director? Why that specific role? This is why. I strongly believe that I'm very well equipped for the role because of my previous experiences being in education teams. I'm currently involved in organizing one of Bachelor of Design's biggest events, the Industry Night. I am so glad to be part of such a team that fed me with experiences, plenty learning curves, and for the fact that there's 3 clubs involved in organizing, that requires a higher sense of coordination and effective communication, something that I could bring along with me and make a much bigger impact at UMSU International. This is what I can bring to UMSU International. This is what I call transparency. I was being honest with every one of you, and that ultimately builds trust between committee members. So I really hope that you all had a glimpse of who I really am. Not much, but I can assure you that you will truly understand what kind of a person I am if I were to be elected. After all, the rest is in your hands. Thank you for your time, and I hope you make a good decision.
Thanks, Hugo. Now, as you say, we have some questions, so I will just go through these questions for you. Now, what do you see as the biggest shortcoming of education being in the prior year, and how would you address that? Now, I'll go to you first, Sophia.
Being in the education team the past year, I feel like I experienced that there was this view that education is the least fun department. And I guess I would want to address this view because this discourages people from going to education events because they're seen as dry or less interesting than the more hyped up events. So I believe that would be that shortcoming, like that perspective. But I think we can address this by making our events more engaging, because I don't think that study buddies or design week are necessarily boring events, because you learn so many things and content is engaging. But maybe the way that we approach these events can be improved. And if we could just add more energy and maybe market them as more exciting, fun-filled events than just simply information-filled events, we could address that shortcoming.
Excellent. Thanks, Sophia. Now over to you.
Yeah, Gavin. Sorry, can you repeat the question for me?
I most certainly can. I'll pull that up. What did you see as the biggest shortcoming of education in the prior year, and how would you address that?
I mean, I totally agree with Sophia as well. Even I believe that it is a wrong perception that, people think it is a less fun kind of sector. But you see, we are living in the 21st century and we have all the resources that we have right now. It's more like calling limitations as being limited. And with spreading awareness of UMSU International and education is what matters than the number of events you conduct in a year. Spreading awareness, you have many other mediums, platforms now with dual delivery, with online and offline events. You can bring that sort of engagement by opening your mindset and having a much more broader platform for students to hop into. And that is something that I believe I could make a change in UMSU International and bring that variety and the scope.
Beautiful.
I hope.
Yeah. Thanks,
yes.
Yeah. Now I have more questions. So I'll go through that. Now, if you were elected as the education director, what qualities do you think are required as a successful leader to your department? And what strengths can you offer this organisation to achieve those goals that you would like to pursue? Go for it, Sophia.
The roles for an education director, the qualities of an education director I believe are most important are being organized, but also being flexible. So I think organization first would help because we run a lot of workshops and these require lots of coordination, lots of partnerships with speakers and experts. And so being organized would facilitate the smoothness of events and cooperating with other bodies. Secondly, the quality I pointed out was flexibility, because with such events, you can't expect everything to go exactly as you planned in your proposal. And you have to allow for change that may come up, especially when you don't expect it. So, and I think I would be able to fulfill these qualities because I would say I'm a fairly organized person. I put all my events in the calendar. I like to go through what I will do for the day. And I like to stay on top of things generally, both in uni and in my social life and in my work in UMSU International. And flexibility, I feel like this is a more personality aspect of the role because I would say I'm fairly adept to working with things that change because I don't always have too strict a view on things, and I acknowledge that lots of things can happen. So I think my flexible attitude and just open-mindedness to things in general can help me be both flexible and organized.
Excellent. Jigar?
So according to me, the qualities of education director role is management. Now, when I say management, it's a general term. It covers, loads of things, such as money management with events and team management, people management, time management, all of that. So one thing is being organized and, having the management skill that it takes to be one. And second is, having an open mindset and the willingness to learn. Actually, to be honest, we are all students. Many of us wouldn't have much as experience as before, but we will still learn and learn from mistakes. And me personally, I go with a saying about 3 E's. So first thing comes my experience. I use my past experience into experiments and implement it in the situation. Obviously taking account of risk. And then the next E comes with, I use my experience to put into experiment and then achieve expectations. That is what basically matters at the end. So I believe that is all that, the qualities of education director should be. And I believe I can do a really good job at it.
Excellent. Now I've got my next question. What medium do you think is most effective for professionally developing international students? Now go for it, Sophia.
I'm not exactly sure about what you mean about medium, but I guess I have 2 interpretations. First, if you mean like reaching out to international students, then I believe social media would be the best medium because a lot of people get their information from social media, especially people who are online right now. So I think Facebook and Instagram especially would be best in reaching our base. But alternatively, for improving the skills of international students, if that's what you meant by that kind of medium, then I would suggest probably something practical like how to use like hard skills, like maybe how to use Microsoft or how to use software like Adobe, because I think these are more measurable skills that international students can put on their resumes. And I think that's something we can offer both online and offline.
Excellent, thank you. Now, go for it there, Jigar.
Yeah, Gavin. So even I had 2 interpretations when you asked the question first. So first thing is obviously, reaching out to the students. that is, spreading awareness that there's not just an event, but what is the event about. And I think right now the best, kind of medium or the platform are, social media and email. So you have individual attention to every student. And secondly, about the medium, I interpreted was about how it is going to be conducted. One of my goals of becoming an education director and what I like to achieve is to actually create a community. And like I said, there is this perception of education being less fun. I want to, change that mindset and create a community by, having other kinds of technology into play. For example, we only have Zoom meetings, or like majority of the meetings are done by Zoom. We could even eventually add up with, a Discord channel, a group for all like professional mingle and students, like a professional Discord channel with all the, facilities and the features. And basically it's the convenience that you provide the students with, and that is what grabs their interest. So that is what I will focus on.
Excellent, thank you. Now I have one last question. As an education director, what specific plans or arrangements are you going to offer to international students in terms of educational events? So Sophia, you get to go again.
So as I've mentioned in my policy speech, I talked about sustainability workshops and financial literacy workshops. And so as I said in the speech, I think those are the two specific events I would put forward. And I would also like to advance past education events like SWOT Snack, Design Week workshop, which only began this year. So we'd be running it a second time in the next year, and we'd be improving like what we couldn't do in this first running of Design Week workshop. And I would also advance our most popular event, which is PR Visa workshop. It's very important for all international students hoping to extend their stay and further their studies.
Excellent, thank you. Now, Jega.
Hi there. So what my focus as education director for the following year would be, with the existing events from a student perspective, I find the interaction between the students and the engagement between the students and actually the committee is pretty low. And I would like to address that issue by, actually empowering others, being a team leader and promoting the education status. Just like I said, that this is just an example about the Discord channel, but it is about creating a community and then, eventually conveying the information and the knowledge in a more optimized way. So that is what I'll be focusing on.
Excellent, thank you. Now, that's all the questions I have. So we'll now move to the next position. Thank you both. Now, I'll just call the first person for our next position, which is Sarah. No, I think I've got Riddy first. So, Riddy, are you there?
Yes, I am here.
Ah, excellent. Now, I can hear you clearly, so feel free to start speaking when you would like.
Yeah, thank you. So my name is Riddhi Agarwal, and I'm currently running for the position of Welfare Director. Over the last 2 months, I've been part of the Welfare Committee, and I've worked on several projects, and I've come to be more aware on UMSU International already does for international students and areas where it may be lacking. One area which I believe needs more focus is having a safe space for students to come and relax. This would be different from the International Student Lounge rather than just a place to come and hang out. This space would be more geared towards de-stressing and as an emergency bunker or accommodation of sorts. If you've been to Arts West and you've seen this like a small bed CT type thing on the second floor, it's something similar to that. And personally, I've never seen that space empty. There is currently no place on campus where students can stay after hours if they need to. For example, if students have been studying until late and they don't feel safe going home, they can come to this space, or if they've lost their keys and they need some place to crash, this will serve as a safety net for those students. Or even if they need a short nap during a busy day, they can utilize this space. This ties in with the need to have more spaces which are open until extended hours. I'm aware at the moment UMSU Education has been working on having library hours extended for SWOT Back, but I'd like to emphasize the importance of having these areas. It is much more safe and secure to have moderated study spaces which are open until late at night, rather than have students study in random buildings in areas which are not designated study spaces. I hope that as we return to on-campus mode of learning next semester, this is also something that returns to the way it used to be. And as return to on-campus learning, I think it's important to remember that many of our students are still stuck overseas. Recently, the uni has declared that 90% of our subjects will be delivered in person, while the Australian government has said borders are unlikely to open until mid-2022. At this point, many of these students have spent 2/3 of their degree on Zoom, and I feel it's important that we do our best to engage with them and make them feel a part of the community. I have no doubt that we'll be hosting more in-person events and services, but it's important that we don't end up isolating overseas students in the process. Recently, we had Mental Health Day, during which we hosted an online wellbeing board for students to come and write their concerns on. Most of the students who participated were international students, and they expressed feeling lonely, overwhelmed, and burnt out. I believe more effort should be made to connect them to each other. These can be through expanding current programs like we had Pen Pals, or through having online game or trivia nights. To address mental health and keep spirits up, we can have more workshops on managing workload, procrastination, burnout, and healthy study techniques. That's all the areas that I'll be speaking about today. Thank you for listening to me, and if you have any questions, I'll be happy to take them. Thank you.
Thanks, Vidi. Now we move on to Sarah, if you are out there, Sarah.
Hello.
Hey, Sarah, we can hear you loud and clear, so go for it.
Hello, everyone. Before I begin, I wish to acknowledge and pay our respects to the traditional owners of this land, the Wurundjeri people of Kulin Nation, and to elders past, present, and emerging. Sovereignty was never ceded. My name is Sarah Lim, and I'm a second-year art student. And to everyone, thank you for being here. For many, if not all of us, it has been isolating to live as an international student away from home, and COVID has only worsened this mental toll. In 2021, with classes back on campus, with less restrictions and no curfews, for now, knock on wood, there is an emerging sense of normalcy. However, this normalcy does not mask the hardships many of our students are seeing or experiencing firsthand in their home countries. I would like to alleviate the stress and negative emotions our students face through this position. I consistently strive to support students through hardships, acting as a bridge of communication in my roles as an international student ambassador for UMSU International and as a student ambassador at my current student accommodation. My communication and interpersonal skills have helped me to socialize and network with students so I can better understand their needs and so I can accommodate them. In order to effectively use this information to create and uphold a supportive, nurturing environment for students, my policies focus on accessibility and communication. Communication is essential in maintaining a sense of belonging for international students, and it has room for improvement in terms of the ability to access and communicate with counselors provided by the university. I suggest matching students with therapists with similar cultural backgrounds and language abilities, as well as to promote ESL workshops for long-term benefits. Unlike students living in Melbourne, there is a diminished accessibility for overseas students. I hope to implement a separate counseling support program for overseas students and better marketing towards online mental health workshops and more online events with tangible prizes to encourage morale and participation. My second policy also aims to better direct and provide pre-existing resources of the university. For example, the Safer Sex program provides free contraceptives via sign-up, but many students are unaware of it. This program, along with others, are abundant yet untouched. Therefore, I would like to work towards more exposure via marketing. Lastly, resources such as basic food supplies, hygiene products, stationery products will be promoted through packages and bundles with themes such as a period pack for our students who menstruate, which would include feminine hygiene products, dark chocolate, a sock, and some rice to make a sustainable and multi-use heating pack to encourage consumption. I would like to be in close contact with student accommodations in order to have set resources available to the students as well. Thank you for your time, and remember, vote for Sarah, I'll take care of you. Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah. Now, those we have some questions, so I will go through and ask you both, and just in the same order that we spoke. So now, our first question is, if you were elected as the welfare director, what would be your priorities in the first 3 to 6 months on the job? Now, this may cover off, obviously, a bit of what you've spoken about already. So, feel free to just say that you've already spoken about it. So if you were elected as a welfare director, what would be your priorities in your first 3 to 6 months on the job? Now, I think I will go to Riddy if you're there first.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe, as I spoke about before, having extended hours for study spaces is something that requires immediate attention, because as we know, SWOT work is coming in 2 weeks. And while we may not make much progress now, certainly we need to start early if we do want our campus back to normal from next semester. So that is something which I think will require utmost attention and focus. Secondly, I also believe, like Sarah said, it's very important to inform students of what services are available to them. And as the start of new semester comes, orientation is really the best time where students are all ears and open and listening. And so I believe we can make good use of that time and tell students what's really in UMSU International, what services they have available and what we can do for them. So I think for the first 3 months, this is what I would focus with. I would also coordinate and collaborate with all the other officers in my team and work on expanding and organizing their portfolios. Thank you.
Thank you, Rudy.
Yeah.
Now, Sarah, go for it.
For the first 3 months, I would prefer to have a smooth handover and to make sure that any existing projects already will be done well and finished before we start moving on to another aspect to focus on. And like Rudy has said, again, the exposure towards resources that we already have would be a really important aspect I would like to work with. For example, for the ESL programs, the English speaking, it's called English Second Language programs for what I'm used to, but it's basically English speaking workshops. We would like to collaborate with collaborate closely with the sponsorship and partnership team in order to make sure to ask if there are any resources available in that way, so that we can merge and have those workshops available. Or we could also work closely with HR in order to have a more, not as professional workshops, but perhaps more in using the ISAs to have a social bonding to make students more comfortable with speaking about their emotions in a non-professional setting. It would be nice to collaborate with the ISAs and have them socialize and have a comfortable environment.
Excellent, Sarah. Thank you. Now we've got, I'll just check if I've got more questions, which yes, I do. Now, this one is, what do you believe is the key to a successful welfare department? And I'll go to you first, Rudy, if you're there.
Yeah, I believe the key to a successful welfare department is a welfare department that takes pride in its work and that has taken various opportunities to spread their services and hold events and have students engage with the events and services that they put out. As we know, the welfare department has a lot of portfolios ranging from nutrition to professional welfare to sexual health, mental health, etc., social welfare. And really, for me, success would look like having all these portfolios and all the officers in charge of these portfolios be able to successfully organize events and services under them, and having students then utilize the services and obtain real gain from them. That's, I believe, what a successful welfare team would look like.
Great, thank you. Now, Sarah, if you would like me to read the question again, let me know. Go for it, Sarah.
Oh, could you please repeat the question?
I most certainly can. What do you believe is the key to a successful welfare department?
I think that the key would be communication between the welfare directors, not only with the OBs and the team, but also with other departments. Most importantly, communication between the directors and the officers, because the officers are the powerhouse of being in charge of events. And most importantly would be not only to constant communication in terms of, oh, how is the project going, but more also in terms of how the officers themselves are, because in school in general, but also in terms of the content that the welfare department would usually accommodate for students' needs in different aspects such as mental health, sexual health, it is important for the officers themselves to be comfortable and to be in their most comfortable zone. So I believe that the mental health of the officers as well is very important in terms of having a a good welfare department, and also for not only a team goal, but individual goals. For example, I would want to be in contact with all the officers and have them talk about not only the team's goal as a whole, what are we going to be working towards, but also their individual goal, because their time is very valuable. I would ask them, what would you want to get from your time, the time that you give to the welfare department? What changes would you like to see? And I would like to accommodate that and say, how can I be of support? How can this uni be of support? Or the resource, do you have the resources you need to give as much as you would like to the university and to the program? That's
Excellent.
what I would do.
Thanks, Sarah. Now we've got, I think that's it for questions. I'll just check. No, I've got one more. Good work, people out there. Student welfare is quite a broad and extensive area to address, and it requires handling multiple projects over multiple portfolios. How will you manage your time and volunteers, officers, to succeed in your role? So Riddy, I'll go to you first.
I believe that with any other team project, what is most important, first of all, is communication. So as we have a lot of projects, it's really important that we maintain open channels of communications between the officers and the director, and that we keep each other posted on what our progress is, how far we've gotten. I also believe that it's extremely, extremely important to ask for help when we need it. From personal experience and just from seeing other people as well, I do understand that it can be hard to ask for help, but that's, I think, what embodies the spirit of the welfare department. Essentially, we're here to help students. And so if we're afraid to ask for help ourselves, then I don't think we can really succeed as a team. So asking for help, keeping our communication channels open, and also as a leader myself, I believe flexibility is extremely important. It's important to know when to take charge of the conversation and steer it, but it's also important when to sit back and let people take charge and talk about what they're passionate about. So I also believe that it's extremely important to remain organized. And for me, that has been a challenge in the past, especially with COVID. But now that I am more experienced and I have, I'm in my second semester of university, I have figured out how to balance different aspects of my life so that I get optimal results from what I'm doing. And it helps that I have such a big passion for the welfare department and AMSU International. I have no doubt that organization, communication, and flexibility, with all of these three things together, we can have a great, successful, productive team. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks, Riddy. Now over to you, Sarah. And if you'd like me to, repeat the question again, let me know.
In order for time management, I personally think that since it's already been a year since I have been balancing university as well as a work schedule, I am comfortable in scheduling, because I do plan my calendar, my time in months because of rosters and also because of university deadlines. So I would like to implement that and also help make sure that there's time management, but not only for me, but there is a communal for all the officers as well, that we all have the same schedule or the same workload, and that it's compatible with everyone's needs and how they would like to work. So I think that, as Riddy has said, communication is key in order to manage time, because it's not, I personally shouldn't dictate a schedule for the officers if I were to become director. So I believe communication is key with the team to make an end goal and an end schedule that's compatible with everyone.
Excellent. Thanks, Sarah. Yeah, that's all the questions, I think. I'll just double check on the chat. So thank you very much, both of you. And then we'll move on to our next position,